Hey guys, this is just a quick video on how to write testable code in JavaScript, specifically with Angular. So this is just a brief introduction. So let's just start off. So firstly, I'm using something called StackBlitz. This just allows you to uh, develop Angular applications within the web browser. It just saves me setting it up all locally, and it allows us to get started very quickly. So, what is testable code? So, let me be brief and give you an example of untestable code and testable code. So, all right, what we're going to do right now is we're going to create a function, and that function simply adds something to something else. So, let's just call it add. And I'll say add untestable. So, this is the untestable function and the add testable function. And again, one is testable, one is untestable. And I'll explain everything as I'm going through. Cool. So what we have here, firstly, is we have this function, and all we want to do is to add two numbers into it. With this function, we add two numbers together, and then it returns something, the sum of the two numbers. So if I say this dot num1 equals 1, this dot num2 equals 2, and then I want to return this dot num1 plus this dot num2. Okay, so none of these are defined, so what I'll quickly do is I'll just use this indicator here to just declare property num1 and also to declare property for num2, just so it doesn't error. And when it's saying it can't assign those to void, let me just say any. And this is another example of it not being testable. So, okay, we'll create the second function, and as you can imagine, I'm going to use parameters, so I'll just say num1, num2, and I know I'm returning a number, so I just say num1 plus num2. Now, why is this first, and let's quickly test this to begin with, so let's just check if this works. So what I would do is, it says property name does not exist on type act and kernel. Oh, that's probably because it's here. So yeah, we can delete all of that. This is just the boilerplate stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just run this function in the template and output the value. So I'll just say p function 1 is outputting untestable, sorry, and function 2, which is outputting 3, as we can see here, and function 2 is going to do the same. Let me actually add it like this. That makes more sense. Just a bit easier to read. So that one is simply add testable. And as you can see in the function, it has two parameters, which are both numbers. Let me just add those there as well. So this is it's pretty simple stuff right here, but just it would be a good demonstration. Oh, I don't need to sign in right now. It's all good. Yeah, so let's just put, we want to get the same answer for both. Let's just put 1 and 2. And then that should refresh. Cool. So here we have two functions doing the exact same thing. In this one, I'm actually adding the numbers I want to be added. In this one, I'm adding the numbers I want to be added, but just using property. Now, this is where we can really start to go into the importance of writing testable code. Why is this untestable? So there are various reasons, and let's write these in the comments. The first reason is this is untestable And when I say untestable, it is technically testable, but it's just very difficult to test, unnecessarily difficult to test. The first reason is because it's using external state. Using external state. Now, what do I mean by that? So this function doesn't have everything inside of itself to do what it needs to do. Now, what do I mean by that? It's relying on two properties outside of the function. Therefore, I have to import the state of these two functions inside of this to actually know what numbers to add together. The reason this is bad is because when we actually come to writing the test, and we'll write the tests for this soon, we'll find that whenever we use external state, it's a pretty bad practice within functions, especially in JavaScript, because you're essentially, the function can't be tested in a self-contained way. We can't just add the numbers into the function and check if the output is correct. We actually have to declare the properties, add the value to the properties so they're not undefined, then return the value of the function, and then test if that value is based on these two external properties. And it just adds a lot of bloat to it. And again, we're going to go through these very soon. So second of all, why is this untestable? Well, there's some other simple little things here, but the fact is the return type isn't defined. Now, why is this important? Arguably, this has nothing to do with testing. The reason it is because we don't know when we're testing it what this output is actually going to be. So we don't know. We could, be testing it and saying, oh, we expect a string of the value 3, or we expect a boolean of false, or something like that. And because we don't have this return type, we don't actually know what to test against. We can't say this add function is actually returning a number. So that makes it more difficult to test. The third point is slightly more difficult to point out at first glance. Now, if you look at the way the return value is actually returned the two numbers, this is returning the two values based on the state externally. I know we mentioned that to begin with, but the difference is when we return it, because we don't have the return type plus the fact that the external state is not within the function, we have to not only rely on external state, but we actually don't know what we're returning. So we actually have three things to manage. We have the return type of the function, we have the type of the number one, and the type of the number two. It just makes it a lot of more difficult to manage. We have to make sure this is a number, this is a number, and then we have to make sure that when we're importing it here, this is a number, and that the return type is a number, and all of those stuff. So it just makes the test cases a lot more difficult. Now, if we move on to add testable, all we really need to do when we're testing it is saying, I put in these two numbers. I know the output is going to be a number. And I have my two numbers in here. I need nothing else. I don't need to, declare this dot num1 equals 1, and this dot num2 equals 2. I just need to say 1 and 2, just like I did here. And that should return 3. And if it doesn't return 3, something is wrong with the function, because that's what we expect. And that's exactly what the unit test should do. It should fail if this doesn't work. So this is part 1, and in part 2, we're actually going to write the tests. Thanks for your time.